Hey everybody, JMac here in another video in the series Building Optionality. This marks 4 full weeks of kind of starting this series, and what it does is basically bring me at a crossroads. I need to make the decision if I'm going to move forward building this application or not. And I have to be honest, right now it's not looking good for 2 reasons. So what I want to do in this video is kind of review those reasons and really just do a gut check because I think this is really important to kind of understand this process because again, a lot of people think of an idea, they think it's great, they kind of get intoxicated with it, and as developers we just go off and spend countless hours coding this thing and it just might not be the right thing to do. Maybe there are other better things to do with that time, other things you could be working on, right? So for me, this is ultimately, a potential source of income. So as such, I need a return on that investment. We kind of talked about this in the first video, you know, starting at square zero, right? I want to make sure, just like with investing, right? Ironically, I want to make sure that I get a return on my time investment. So I need to be, strict about that. I need to be disciplined in the fact that I'm not kind of frivolously spending my time. And what that means as far as building optionality is, does it make sense for me to use my time to build this, given the things that I've seen so far within 4 weeks? So let's review a couple of those reasons that I have for maybe being skeptic about moving forward building this, and then we'll kind of ultimately talk about what I what I think and what I feel and what I want to do. So first things first, when I made the very first video, I set out these goals. And so these were the goals very early on. So step one, after 4 weeks of this timeline, I want to make sure not only have I been, truly doing these things, but how have they turned out? Have I hit these goals at all? So write weekly posts and cross post to Medium. So I've done that. I've got, 4 or 5 posts here. I've got another one in the works. Actually, I have 2 more in the works. So I'll ultimately have 6 posts. I've been doing that. I've been cross posting them to Medium. About a week later, I want to make sure that I'm getting, again, proper search engine optimization. So I want them to be on my site first, on optionality.app first. Let them marinate there for a little bit, let search engines hit them, and then cross post them to other platforms. So that's why you see a bit of a lag here in the timeline, and not necessarily all 4 of those that you see on optionality are also here yet. So I've been doing that. So checkbox as far as the work, but the goal was to be syndicated, and definitely have not done that. In fact, if you look at the stats on Medium, they're abysmal. This is really just content that's getting buried. So my efforts to make catchy titles or catchy taglines or make sure they have good images or tag them accordingly, in some of the popular tags underneath finance on Medium, it's just not working out. So, you know, I would really have to be strict here, and have to be honest with myself. This is kind of a failure. I did not meet this goal. I did a good job writing posts. I've got posts in the pipeline. I'm going to keep writing posts because they help me just as, a personal investor. But as far as my goal towards building an audience to kind of get me towards building this product, I can't really give this a checkbox, in good conscience. Increase traffic to optionality. So again, all this cross posting, all this posting, all this sharing on Twitter and Medium and within other forums, has this really helped? So I've been posting on this community mainly that I'm part of. I have a little bit of recognition here, a little bit of credit here. So I'm able to kind of post here and get some traffic. And I have seen that. So if I go look at Google Analytics, I really waited until I had kind of a critical mass of articles. So this is the baseline, back in December launching the site. You're looking at maybe 10 views a day. And I definitely increased that. Technically speaking, I quadrupled that traffic by starting to post on or sharing optionality in my blog posts on this forum. But in reality, while quadruple sounds awesome, I went, basically from 12 daily visitors to 60. That's not that great. I think you'd be hard pressed to, again, build a product for 60 people because you have to think conversion rate is, maybe 5% of those people that are reading these posts are actually going to be interested in a product that I build. So what, 5% of six or 60, just not that many people. I mean, even if you were charging $1,000 for the subscription, which I wouldn't be, it's just not really going to be a sustaining source of income, so to speak. Again, doesn't mean it wouldn't be some income, doesn't mean it couldn't be a good product. But again, I have to be disciplined. I have to be real with myself and say, that's not really an audience I'm looking for. So, increased traffic, yes. Again, kind of a loose checkbox, but really, in real terms, objectively, um, kind of another failure there. And then finally, increased Twitter following, 250 followers. I talked about this before. Twitter just might not be the medium in which I attract my audience. Maybe they're more on the forums. Maybe they're more on a very particular blog post. Maybe they're traditionally marketed to through advertising. I don't know yet. Clearly, I haven't built that audience and found the right way to do it yet. So far, my only um, I guess, kind of blip as far as feedback goes was the sharing on forums. So, if I do move forward, I'm definitely going to try to tweak that signal a bit more. I'm definitely going to continue writing posts because that helps regardless. But maybe I wouldn't focus so much on Twitter because to that point, I basically have the same amount of followers I roughly started with, give or take a couple. So no increase there whatsoever. So again, definitely as far as these goals go, honestly, didn't meet that. So, again, if I'm being really strict, I didn't meet any of these goals. I did the work, I didn't meet any of them. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that maybe this is going to be an uphill battle if I built this product. Maybe I'd have to, and of course, I would want to do this anyways. I would want to continue building the audience as I build the product. So, this is never ending. There's no silver bullet here. I want to be clear about that. I want to take a minute to kind of point that out. There is no silver bullet. There's really nothing short of already having an audience that's going to help you kind of be able to market this thing right away. You really have to carefully build that audience. And since this is a very new kind of product category for me, I just don't have an audience yet. No one knows me for investing. They might know me for programming, but they don't know me as an investor. And so I would constantly need to be building this audience, and I plan to constantly build this audience. But the point is that I really haven't gotten a lot of positive feedback yet that that there's going to be clear kind of quote unquote easy ways to do that. And and I didn't necessarily expect there to be, but I was hoping by this point to maybe reach syndication on Medium, for example, or maybe reach better daily traffic from these forums. And while I did see an increase, is it enough? So that's really the question that remains. Is this enough to really push forward? The other thing, the second reason is in kind of getting slightly more of an audience, I have gotten more feedback on some things. And one of the biggest things that I got feedback on is I was made aware of a couple products that actually already exist in this category. So there's this Wingman tracker, which is honestly, it's hilarious. They're kind of their three little, selling points down here was like literally exactly what I was after, like automation, aggregation, organization, and reporting or analytics. I was going to go like three A's. I was going to go automation, aggregation, analytics. And I mean, literally, they have that here. Know your cost basis instantly. So automation, all your trades in once. There's that kind of aggregation, that organization here, and then analysis, or analytics. I mean, look at that. It's hilarious. So I haven't. I definitely going to try this just for myself because again, ultimately, I'm interested in this product. So know your competition, but um, they have something that's pretty clean here, and this could be pretty interesting. So the fact that there's a product that I wasn't aware of that exists that kind of came up in this is kind of one of that secondary reasons that makes me a bit skeptic. Also, this community that I'm part of has touted, or at least said that they're going to build their own kind of internal version of this. So I'm already part of a community that I do pay for that could potentially be releasing this tool anyways. So again, personally, my needs could potentially be met through one of these tools. I don't know yet. But that makes me a little bit skeptic, right? There is competition, and it's interesting because I was actually listening to a product podcast the other day. I think it was another one I think it was the same, Building SaaS by Justin Jackson. But he was talking about, it was kind of perfect timing. He was talking about, should you care about your competition or should you worry about your competition, was the title of the podcast. And they kind of talk about that. And long story short, they basically said, no, it doesn't mean you shouldn't necessarily build something, and it doesn't mean you have to have feature parity or whatnot, but you should pay attention to kind of what's going on with them. So I do agree that there's the opportunity to have multiple versions of this in the space. But again, it would be an uphill battle. It would be a scenario where not only am I now building an audience, one that comes from a community where they could have their own version of this tool very soon, any day now, to be quite honest, as well as competing against a community that might already be aware of or be using this wingman tracker or some other product that's similar that I haven't learned about yet, or is just comfortable doing it the way most people do, which is through an Excel spreadsheet or through just their own broker, just kind of iteratively picking and putting the pieces back together. So again, just some manual tracking is the point. They could just have an Apple Note with all their cost bases. It's like, if you don't have a large portfolio, maybe that's just fine. So I'm at a crossroads, and I think these kind of gut check moments are important when you're building a product to determine, is this worth it? Does this make sense? So this is a conversation I'm going to have to continue to have, kind of with myself. I think I'm definitely going to take the next week. I'm still going to continue doing, the posts, doing the cross posting. I'm still going to keep hacking at it, not necessarily hacking at code, but hacking at building an audience because honestly, these posts have helped me kind of just get my thoughts in order. They make me a better trader. So, kind of learning about these things and writing about them is definitely a good way. Teaching always solidifies your knowledge of a topic. So, writing these posts and sharing them has been a great experience. So I'm going to continue to do that anyways. So that's really no misuse, so to speak, of my time. But as far as getting into building this product, I don't know. I'm going to take a step back, and like I said, I'm going to think on this for a week. I definitely would appreciate, your input. Please leave a comment, hit me up on Twitter, or if it's on more of a personal note, feel free to send me an email. I'm jmac@optionality.app. You can send me something there. I would definitely appreciate your take. Like, what do you think? Do you think, given what we know here, what would you do? I definitely welcome any thoughts. I definitely by no means wanted this to be, negative. I just think this is real. This is the reality of building a product. And I think when you do it this kind of iterative MVP way, you have to ask yourself these hard questions along the way. Does this make sense? Whether it's the product in general or just a feature, you know, does this feature make sense to add? Do my users want this? Are people going to care? Does this help the bottom line? You have to ask yourself these hard questions. And sometimes those answers can vary. It doesn't always have to be check boxes across the board. Again, I never expected to checkbox all of these. I gladly would have taken syndication. I gladly would have taken an increase in traffic because honestly, out of the three, these two would have indicated the potential to grow an audience. Even the Twitter followers. But again, I feel like the Twitter followers are a bit harder because again, that just might not be the right medium. I'm not convinced of that, but that's just kind of where I am right now. Even the traders I do follow on Twitter, they're just not very active. So again, that just might not be the right medium. So I would have gladly taken a checkbox, a solid checkbox in one of these two goals, if I had met them, but I just didn't. So that's really making me again kind of stand here at this crossroads and try to determine: am I going to go left? Am I going to go right? Am I going to go back? Am I going to go forward? So this is a pivot point, right? For as far as the MVP terminology, I need to pivot here. So I need to figure out what to do next, and ultimately whether or not I'm going to build this product. So um, again, welcome your feedback. Please leave comments. Please, tweet me on Twitter. Or again, if you have some personal feedback, feel free to send me an email, jmac@optionality.app. And either way, I will do a follow-up video, whether I decide to move forward or not. I'm going to continue to do these follow-up videos, at least one more of them, to kind of make that decision. But I'll probably take a week off, maybe even two, just to kind of really finish out this building of the audience, finish posting these work or these posts that I've already drafted. Just kind of finish that out. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a little lucky in these last 2 weeks. We'll do a little overtime, so to speak. We'll go into extra innings and see if it helps. But right now, honestly, have to be real, and this might take a little longer to make a decision.